Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Lifelong Learning and Discerning. Today, let's discuss adequately training our children for the world to come. Now, the world to come, when I say that, we automatically will probably think about, heaven or hell, something along those lines. But I literally mean the moment after this, and for life and beyond, because everything from my perspective should be geared toward ensuring the best possible outcome for as many as possible, through intention and effort, through pure intention and effort. So I remember, reading that it's sunnah to teach our children horse riding, archery, and swimming. And so I wanted to just think about these teachings for a moment. First off, I think that those are very wise recommendations. I would also want to ensure that we are not just thinking about our boys, but our boys and girls should all be trained in these things. So when we say horse riding, let's extend it and not just include horses and camels, but to think about vehicles, modes of transport. So children, depending on the age, whatever age they've attained, and their capabilities and what's available in the area, I mean, it would make sense that they're learning how to drive a variety of modes of transport for self-preservation and protection, for cultivation of the body and the mind. So obviously at a very young age, for a lot of children, it's going to be learning how to ride a bicycle. So we're going to have children learning how to ride bicycles. Then as they get older, maybe a moped or, a motorcycle, and then later a car, maybe a truck, to learn how to drive automatics as well as stick shifts, to be able to paddle a boat, whether it be a rowboat or a canoe or a kayak, that they are adapted to be able, or they are trained to be adaptable in a variety of environments. Because for instance, rowing a boat, going, kayaking on whitewater rapids or something like that, or on cascades, we're working not only different parts of the body, but different parts of the mind. And we want our children to be able to be systematic critical thinkers, and deeply intuitive and rational, and able to be flexible and adaptable in a variety of circumstances, in order to prevent danger and suffering, and able to eliminate danger and suffering and maximize benefit for themselves as an individual and for their circle and beyond. So I would say that horse riding, it's beautiful if you have the ability or you have the means to ride a horse. It's beyond most people's economic means right now and feasibility. A lot of people are living in cities and suburbs. If you're blessed to live in the countryside, then that's a beautiful thing to know how to ride horses, and we need to maintain that and continue to cultivate our healthy relationships with horses. They're one of our key companion animals over millennia. Same thing with camels. So if we have the opportunity, then obviously we should do these things. And then we could extend and just not just think about modes of transportation, but relationships with creatures. We should teach our children to have healthy interactions with dogs, with cats, with the creatures in the environment, and establish respectful, beneficial, healthy relationships that are not one-sided, that are not selfish, and that are not harmful to self or other. So we've got this first part of the trainings related to modes of transport and to relationships with other creatures. Now let's think about archery. So teaching our children archery. First off, this is one of the very best things we can do for hand-eye coordination. It could be a great way to teach mathematics, to teach physics, to teach arts and crafts, like how to manufacture one's own bow and arrows, from kind of a Stone Age level to more sophisticated expressions. So these are ways we can extend our learning to not only work actively with bows and arrows or crossbows and bolts or whatever it might be. We're talking about the ability to defend oneself and to provide for oneself and one's loved ones. So it can be archery can be, and then the extensions, because there are extensions from that, because archery, what you're doing is you've got the bow is an extension of the body, the arrow or the bolt is an extension of the mind and your intention to to take prey, or to protect oneself and eliminate harm, to eliminate an enemy. That's an extension of the mind. You can project your mind in a certain manner. Of course, we should always minimize harm and suffering towards self and others. This is part of the deed. And so anyway, when we're talking about archery, we're talking martial arts. My perspective is that all children, Muslim and non-Muslim, should all be trained in defensive martial arts. Something at bare minimum like Tai Chi, something that they can cultivate and practice through their entire lives, utilize for defensive purposes as well as offensive if needed in a just situation, in a just manner. So when we're thinking about archery, I'm extending it to include martial arts. Martial arts are arts of war. So this would include problem solving, practical problem solving. It would include tactics, strategies. It would include the ability to behave offensively or defensively, especially defensively. This is very important for our young women, for our girls. All girls should be able to defend themselves. And you could be like, well, their brothers will protect them, whatever. We're in a very complex world right now. We need our girls to have the confidence and the ability to protect themselves in a variety of circumstances. So self-defense is imperative for all of our young people, I believe. And I believe the boys should also be trained in offensive war tactics, in the sense of being able to protect their loved ones and their environment, and be able to be and training to protect others outside of their circle, inshallah. So basically we've got archery and the martial arts and practical problem solving. There are arts and techniques related to developing calm and concentration to go with these things. So there's mind training to go with martial arts, and ethics. So these are excellent ways to teach our young people practical ethics, practical problem solving, critical thinking skills, to have harmony between body and mind. It's a type of unifying practice to bring the mind into single pointed concentration. Contemplation practice alongside the practice of archery or whatever it might be. Think Zen, Zen and the art of archery. This is a people had noticed absorption within the martial arts since very, very early times. Some people might compare it like the cat sitting at the mouse hole, developing that concentration, which could be an unethical thing. It could be weaponized in a negative manner. But that's why ethics are absolutely critical when we're talking about martial arts and self-mastery, the ability to harness one's own energy to protect oneself and others. So now, and then we're going to add on. So now we've talked briefly about horse riding and modes of transportation and relationships to other creatures. We've talked about archery and martial arts and self-defense and protecting of our communities, of our women and our... Who's better to protect our women in certain instances than other women? So the women need to be trained to protect themselves and to protect others, in case that the men are not in the vicinity. We need to work together in a what's the right word of saying, in a cooperative manner. As men and women, we've got to rethink our relationships and choose the healthiest, most ethical way of relating to one another. So I see boys and girls need to learn these practices and master. The other one is swimming. Whether we're talking swimming in a freshwater lake, a saltwater lake, in the sea, the ocean, in a river, in a pond, in a saltwater pool. We should avoid chlorine pools when we can because of the toxifying impact on the body and the mind. However, saltwater pools would be excellent, and learning to swim in a natural environment is a benefit. The positive impact it has on coordination of body and mind, on hand-eye coordination, on developing all parts of the body and the mind. It's a very it's great for detoxing and cleansing. It's great for weight loss and maintenance of health. It's a very holistic type of exercise or comprehensive exercise. But I don't think about it just as swimming. I believe we should also, this is to protect our children from drowning and difficult and dangerous situations, plus to have a healthy, positive way of working out and of socially interacting with friends and family members. But now we can extend it. What we're learning in the water, we can apply to the land. We want our children to also be able to flow, not only in a water situation, whether it's fresh or saline, whether it's open or closed networks, but we also want our children to be able to flow on land in a variety of environments. So, for instance, we want our children to be very comfortable in nature because we are nature. And part of the reason we're dealing with so many mental and physical issues nowadays is because we are so disconnected from nature and who we genuinely are as creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's very important that our children are comfortable hiking out in nature in a variety of environments, in a desert environment, in a deciduous or tropical woods or jungle environment, in rocky terrain, to be able to hike in different types of weather and camp. So camping and hiking, I think what we're doing is we're extending the logic of these three basics to a comprehensive, holistic education for our young men and our young women. And we want practices that are lifelong practices, that they can go from womb to the tomb, from birth to the earth, so to speak. So we want to raise children and grandchildren who are capable of adapting to a variety of situations very, very well. We want them to intuit well. We want them to think well in a critical manner. We do not want blind followers. We want excellent humans who live beautifully with ethics, with adab. This is very, very important moving forward. I keep on saying that we need our healed healers to arise. We need our visionaries to arise. So along these lines, it's very important that we ensure that our children have comprehensive educations and that they are learning to read the outer signs and the inner signs, that they learn to think scientifically in the actual sense of what science is. Recognizing the interconnections of creation because of kun, and because the glory of Allah fills the heavens and the earth. So we want our children to have a lifetime full of subhanallah moments. We want our children to come into profound insight and inspired, motivated states of being. We want them to achieve their greatest potentials as humans and open space for more humans to reach their truest potential, to actualize it in reality. And to be in surrender to the truth. Ahak. Truth is the Lord of all worlds. Truth reigns supreme. Truth is the master of the day of judgment. So we want our children to see this and witness this in nature. So we want to take them out on a regular basis, not only into the hills, into the mountains, into the deserts, to camp, to walk, to play, to learn about the various ecosystems and the amazing nature of this creation that we were literally created to caretake and take care of. So we want to ensure that our children are learning from a variety of ecosystems and landscapes, and that they can flow in an urban environment, that they can flow, so they've got street smarts, that they can flow in a woods or a desert environment where there are wild creatures, or in an apocalyptic situation where you've got human predators in a variety of scenarios. And our children know how to adapt, and they can read signs. They need to be able to read signs. The outer signs, so they know to read the environment and find what's food, what's medicine. This is a sign of an enemy or a predator. This is a sign of safety or a way of nutrifying the body or the mind. So they're learning to read the outer and to read the inner. They're learning to know themselves as an emotional human, as an intuitive human, as an intellectual, creative human. And that all aspects of life are realized as means and modes of worship, of demonstrating devotion. So we want children devoted to the truth, devoted to reality as it actually is, and not a slave to any false idea of people, places, things, or systems. We want our children to only be in surrender to the truth alone. So I think that these three indicators of from the Sunnah of teaching all children how to swim, how to utilize how to engage in archery, how to ride a horse, a camel, that these have extensions to them, that overall it comes to each of us should be learning to protect our genetic and bodily and mental integrity and sovereignty. When I use the word sovereignty, I mean freedom from any tyranny, any oppression, any exploitation, any manipulation. Because we are children of Adam alayhi salam, children of Hawa alayhi salam. So what we do is when we come into our fitra, we then are original humans. We are aligning and harmonizing with the originality which we were created to express and to live beautifully and excellently in the Adamic pattern, the prophetic way that includes all of the prophets, including our Nebi, peace be upon him. So I would like to see us become masterful and realize that that we live in a sacred book. There are signs all around us and within us. And it's very important that we know how to read these signs very well. Reading consists of close, mindful, and appreciative observation and analysis. We must teach our children how to analyze the phenomena that they are within. There are Quranic ways to read the world, and this has not been discussed enough, and it's absolutely critical that we have this now. So we want to raise children in a holistic, comprehensive, ethical, and pure manner. Inshallah. And we need to teach them how to drive and ride a variety of vehicles and modes of transportation for self-protection and preservation and self-benefit and benefit of their family and loved ones in the group. And connected to that, being able to swim and engage in archery, where we could extend archery, as I said before, to hunting, but then we're not just talking hunting, we're kind of moving in a direction of food. Our children should be able to recognize and gather food and cultivate and grow and harvest food in a variety of environments. We need to raise children that know that they are part of nature and that really have a love and appreciation for nature, because this is the expression of the Creator. It's a beautiful expression. We need to be present, mindful, and appreciative of everything around us and contemplate it. In the silence, in the darkness. Our children need to be able to read signs, to read the breath, to read body sensations, to know, to observe their thought process, their emotional process, the rising of the emotion, the stability of it, the dissipation of the emotion, and to become masters of self. This is why I said it's really important that we're studying the martial arts. And we need a new synthesis of martial arts in our time. Taking the best of a variety of systems, I think there's potential for that, but also to maintain and further cultivate the old ways. Out of China, out of Southeast Asia, wherever it might be, there are a number of really amazing martial arts that are disciplines of body and mind, and ways to unite families and villages and communities toward common causes, like this, because we need physical fitness and emotional fitness. We need these things all we need to kind of multitask. So we need to think about how we are going to not only heal our relationships with our bodies and our minds, heal our relationships with our spouses, with our children, with our parents, with our families, with our friends. We need to heal our communities. Healing is related to whole making. We need to become whole. We need to come out of broken and toxic states and come into whole, pure states, ethically, physically, emotionally. We need to get back to the fitra. So so I'd like us to just consider different ways, creative ways that we can educate our youth through, say, garden boxes and little farm plots where they can learn about the interrelationship of various ecosystems and biomes, microbiomes, where they can learn about how the plants are interrelated and in cooperative relationships with one another, how to mineralize the soil, renutrify it, how to grow healthy soil and utilize it, the plant process, our history with various plants, what kinds of foods or medicines or products can be made from the variety of plants, how to communicate this. So this is a way we could create whole homeschool curriculums where we use our home and environment as language learning opportunities, as science and math learning opportunities, as for the creative arts, writing poems about it, developing our minds, prose, essays, drawings and paintings. We need to train our children holistically so that they have as many opportunities to break free and to break us free as possible, because we are enmeshed in a number of enslavement systems, and we need to break free as individuals and as a collective, inshallah. So again, I will post any ahadith that are related to this in the show notes, inshallah. If you happen to know of anything related to this, or you want to add on to, what do our children need to know in order to thrive, to survive and thrive moving forward in this apocalyptic age? So I want us to just consider this and pray with it. If you think that something that I'm saying is far out, give it some thought, do some research, and pray on it. Because I'm quite confident that that we can take great benefit from these training methods, and that there are ways of extending these three methods into or modes into a variety of areas of life as we train the next generation to be spiritual warriors and healed healers. We need to have a healing paradigm which is intimately tied with a justice paradigm. You cannot have, we need our ummah to be the most ethical, most just ummah possible, which means we got a lot of broken people from so much warfare and destabilization and instability, all over the world. And I'm not just talking war. I'm also talking in economic instability. I'm also talking about went on a little. I'm drifting a little bit, but we're not just talking about war and instability, but we're talking the instabilities from the type of lifestyles that we've been leading. For instance, we've got broken homes. Many families are growing up with multiple divorces, a sequence of divorces, some of them psychologically and physiologically and materially devastating. So that's highly traumatic. Some people are growing up in crazy neighborhood situations with a lot of crime and criminality and rationalization of criminal behavior. So we have a traumatized species, and do not underestimate the long-term impact of war and enslavement on multiple generations of individual families and clusters of families. So we need the healed healers. We need to go through the healing process in every area of life and do massive detoxes and cleanses, because we are in traumatic environments from before we are born, the way that we're born, in unnatural light, in strange, in positions that our mothers never would give birth to. Those are unnatural birthing positions. We're dealing with people that are toxic from chemotherapy, that are toxic from radiation treatments, that are toxic from pharmaceuticals, that have all manner of. Notice that most of the pharmaceuticals. When do you ever hear about organic pharmaceuticals made with organic products and carrier agents, etc.? This is. I've never heard of an organic pharmaceutical. I've heard of organic supplements. So we need to train our children to think in fresh ways, in holistic ways, utilizing the best educational methods that have been organized over past generations, the best of old and new. So I've kind of been rambling a bit because I've got a lot to say, and I know that I'm skipping over some key points. points. But we have to, if we are to survive this era, we need our healers to purify our lands, because right now we're dealing with traumas from, like I said, from pharmaceuticals, and that go, so intravenous pharmaceuticals, from topical pharmaceuticals, whether it's over the counter or prescription. We've never dealt with such a bombardment of chemicals ever in humanity, not to mention the radiance, like Wi-Fi's, etc. This has an impact on our biological and genetic integrity. And we need to protect ourselves from such things. We need to get to the healthiest, most ethical expressions of everything in our world, and transform our world as much as possible to a healthy, ethical garden, if it were possible, garden-like living. And like I said, we're living in such traumatic ways that we got to deal with the traumas in an efficient and effective way, because we're being traumatized by drinking and bathing and cleaning food and whatnot, and cooking with dirty tap water that has so many chemicals in it and other organisms and whatnot. So we're traumatized from the air and what's sprayed in it. We're traumatized from the water, from the food, from the soil, from behaviors that we have with one another. And we've noticed that through social media and the breakdown of the family through divorce and dysfunction, that we've moved more and more away from healthy ways of dealing with traumas. Most people do not have the tools to deal with traumas. So we need a generation of healers. And like I said, spiritual warriors, ultimately, like we need everyone to be trained to be a warrior in a number of manners, so, a number of ways. So that's why I'm saying, like, defensive martial arts training is essential. We need everybody trained, like I was saying, to grow food and medicine in all aspects, to have their own little greenhouses and garden boxes and garden plots where they can collaboratively farm certain things, learning how to work with animals, spending time in nature, doing practices to strengthen our concentration, our contemplation, to our calm, our demeanor, because we are to be people of integrity and dignity, upright in our thinking patterns, in our speech patterns, in our actions. So I think that it's really important that we consider these training modalities as they have extensions to all aspects of life, and we really need to be thinking about what do we want to provide for our children. We do not just want to return to a system that was used hypothetically 1,000 years ago, 1,200 years ago, whatever. We need to take the best of the old and the best of the new. And we need new syntheses. This is one of the things that the Ummah has been genius at in the past during golden eras, is synthesis of information. So we need to take a practical approach. And we need to really consider, because our children in institutions are in danger increasingly. So we need homeschool networks, tutoring networks, village schooling networks, which are powerful and transformative, where children get learn how to think critically by studying the history and geography of humanity, by studying the ecosystems, particularly through foods and medicines, where they're comfortable in their own bodies and become masters of their body and of their breath, that they're confident that they can protect their households, that they can provide for their households. So we should also be training our children to be entrepreneurs. So as they're growing foods and medicines and creating products through canning, through bottling, through fermenting, through making ointments and oils and tinctures, then it's very important that they also learn how to trade, to bargain, to sell. So bartering. So they're learning to be entrepreneurs and to think in organizing healthy businesses in cooperative ways with others. And to really, as Muslims, ethics should underpin everything that we do. And so we'll discuss this more in a future video, but I'm going to go ahead and draw this to a close. But all boys and girls, all Muslimin and non-Muslimin, should all know how to swim, and how to flow through a variety of environments. All Muslim and non-Muslim boys and girls should know how to defend themselves through defensive martial arts. That's up to the individuals, the families, the temperaments. But, like for instance, Aikido and Tai Chi have non-violent and I don't know if violence is the right way of putting it, but they are more defensive, but that can utilize the energy of the opponent and turn it back on them in a weaponized manner, so that it's like does have an offensive capability, but you would say that that's also defensive, I suppose. But we need all of our children to be able to ride and drive a variety of modes of transportation, of interacting with a variety of animals, comfortably being able to change tires and change the oil, to maintain their environment. Matter of fact, another thing I would add in is it's probably very healthy for children over the years to learn how to spend time on their own and have, be able to protect and take care of themselves in an independent manner. That boys go out into nature, and by the time they graduate to adulthood, they can spend days and maybe weeks at a time out in nature, fending for themselves, taking care of themselves. Maybe by going on long walks, like walking, say, the Appalachian Trail or the Pacific Crest Trail, or maybe one of the trails in Turkey or the Himalayas. But where they're increasingly developing their bodies and their minds, traveling is a sacred practice. So anyway, I'll be more systematic in the future and break this down into a systematized lecture, inshallah. Because we have to develop the ummah. We have to cultivate the healthiest bodies and minds that the ummah has ever had. I would like to see the ummah at the forefront, at the cutting edge of all things organic and holistic, protecting, honoring, and cultivating our bodily and genetic integrity. And so let's discuss this more soon, inshallah. But if you have any ideas or insights you want to build and add on to this and grow this conversation in a way that might be of benefit to Muslims and non-Muslims, please add in the comments, make suggestions. So anyway, if you happen to know of any ahadith or ayat that are related to these topics that would be of benefit, please, don't overwhelm the comments by dropping a book into it, but give us some direction and let us know what you're thinking and how, because we really need to problem solve collectively and collaboratively as quickly as possible. We are in some very serious times, brothers and sisters. You are much loved and deeply appreciated, and may we cultivate the most ethical and excellent generation of Muslimin. It's possible in our very lifetimes. And may we turn the time and bring real, genuine justice to this world and cleanse it, detox it, and be made whole. So until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.